It's all about me and you. It's all about me and you.
Happy New Year's, guys, and welcome to the May Show. It's our very first episode, and since it is something new that we're doing, and it is a new year, or at least for when this is released, we did want to kind of stay on theme. So our topic of the day is starting something new. Very exciting.
Yeah, fits with everything since, obviously it's going to be New Year's. This video is going to come out on the 31st, so a little something to think about maybe once that clock resets.
Yeah.
With New Year's, I've always had a pretty neutral idea of New Year's. Like, I've never necessarily been excited about it, but I've never been against it either. Like, I think it's amusing. Like, sure, yeah, it's a new year. But yeah, it's always just been like something extra. And I see the same thing with New Year's resolutions, which I know is something that a lot of people think about the 31st
Yeah.
or the 30th. And yeah, I think about the resolutions that people do sometimes, and I just wonder if their commitment lasts that long. I know from what I've heard, a lot of the times, most people's New Year's resolutions, like, they stop doing it a month or two in, or a couple of weeks in, and it's kind of sad to think about, but I think we ought to be thinking about it in a different way, I guess.
I know for me, I get excited kind of about the New Year's because it's just, it is a nice reset. More reasons to like write in a planner. I don't know. It's fun, but I've never also cared about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
I've actually always kind of found them to be, I don't want to say annoying, but not interesting. And I know a lot of people, they do New Year's resolutions for the festivities. And I know my family, they even do it too. And whenever they ask me, like, what's your New Year's resolution? It's always very last minute where I'm like, and then I just make something up on the spot. Like, okay, I guess I'll do this. But
like, it'd be nice if I was taller, something dumb like that.
That's not a New Year's resolution. That doesn't work that way.
No, but yeah, it's just something that you think about like last minute.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I don't know, I'll eat healthier next year. But yeah, I never saw it as that interesting. And like, I think knowing now, like me realizing it's probably just because I don't think like a new year justifies needing to create a whole new me or change an aspect of my life. I feel like that's just such a insignificant reason just because it's New Year. I'd want something more. I'd want a better reason to drive me to do something new.
Yeah, I think with New Year's resolutions, I think people's intent are in the right mindset or in the right place, but I think they lack the substance. I think when you start any sort of commitment to something new, or maybe something that you used to do, whatever it may be, you have to think about what it takes. And realizing what it takes will allow you to think about how much you really care about doing it. Like, I know for the May Show, a lot of it was evaluating how much do we care about this certain aspect of what the show would be. So like, I know for me, a lot of what I was covering was like, getting the camera or the lights and the mics. And I was just thinking like how committed I am to this, both financially and just, I don't know, I guess internally.
Passionate you are.
Right. Did I see this camera as worth it to create the May Show? Did I see these lights as worth it to create the May Show? And obviously, ultimately, I did. But it was a process of evaluating what does it take for my standards, and how much do I care? And, you know, thankfully everything worked out. And now it's just the process of actually making the episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, when we started the May Show, or when we were coming up with the May Show, I was definitely nervous about it because I don't feel like, or I've never thought that, you know, me talking in front of a camera would ever really work out because I'm a pretty shy person. I think most people can say that about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you first meet me, it's just awkward. But, right. But I think going into it, I also thought like, okay, sure, I'll do this. I'll find it as a creative outlet and I'll tag along. But for me, I thought of it more of it's really Caesar's thing. I'm going to allow him to deal with, I guess, more of the pressure, if you will. And because, again, like, I don't know if I really wanted to be in the camera knowing how shy I was. I didn't fully commit myself to the May Show until we finally got to talking and I realized, oh no, this isn't like I'm Caesar's just measly little co-host. Like, I'm half of the May Show, which is like, oh, great. I gotta talk for reals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, you know, you saw what it took, and at least thankfully as of right now, you're still here, which is great. I think if you weren't here, the May Show wouldn't be the May Show. It wouldn't stand for me and you. And you know, thankfully you're here, which I appreciate. But yeah, I mean, even when you want to start something new that's, you know, lighthearted, it's just a hobby, like fishing, for example. I've never gone fishing. I have no idea what fishing is like. The only idea that I have of fishing is that everyone says it's about like patience. It's about just being there in the moment, I guess. And the fish will come to you. That's how I understand it. You know, if you want to start something like a hobby like that, you know, there's a lot less effort that you need to put into it. At least in certain things. And because of that, you know, you might be more willing to do that new thing. But when it comes to the hard things in our lives, starting something new, I mean, not all the time is it something voluntary. I mean, you know, for anyone out there that probably has a kid that wasn't necessarily planned, you know, you don't need to say it. But, you know, that's starting something new that you didn't necessarily ask for. But then you have to look at, you know, what it takes, how much you care. You know, hopefully you care a lot since it's a kid. And you just have to think about that process of, again, what it takes. You know, sometimes I think we just force ourselves too. Like, I know for me, it was about 2 years ago, I did not really eat healthy at all. And it was just because I didn't feel like it. Like, I enjoyed what I was eating, but ultimately I didn't like how I looked or how I felt. And it just so happened conveniently that around the December time, I was able to give myself time to get myself healthier and change up the way I was eating and exercising. And I think because I took advantage of that time, really just forcing myself to just think like, ultimately this will be good for me. Ultimately this will be better for me. Even though I did not like it, even though it was not fun, I didn't feel great about it. It ultimately, I mean, as of right now, I feel way better than I ever could have. And, you know, it's that end result that really gave me hope when I started. And I think that's something that's a good motivator when you start something new, is like just seeing that end result. And that's another thing to think about. You know, like for the May Show, you know, our end result, I always saw it as just like a who knows what. But I think like just in a more vague way, I think the end result for the May Show is just that we have something that we can watch later in time and think like, that was good. You know, it's a good reminder even for ourselves. I'm
gonna piggyback on both of those examples.
Right.
When I started going to the gym. I remember Caesar was telling me, like, you should come. It'd be fun. You know, you get healthy. Obviously, I wanted to get healthy and exercise, but I didn't want to go to a gym for, like, a lot of people's reasons. There's just going to be beautiful, butched women around me that I am not. I'm very, very weak. Anyone who's seen me at a gym, I'm sure, can tell you that. I won't go into details. You can ask me later. But yeah, so I was really nervous about that, just the environment, but of, you know, these other people who are just so much better than I am, which is honestly a lie. If you go to a gym, there's going to be people of all stages, you know, in their physical...
In their physique.
Thank you. And yeah, and it's not like they really care at all what you're doing. You should just get her done, and you'll be happy with the results. I know I was super excited, or not. Well, yeah, I started getting excited to go to the gym. I started like requesting to go, or I guess telling Caesar to go with me just as much as he was telling me to go with him. Yeah. At that point, I used his buddy system, so I couldn't go by myself. But yeah, and it was really fun, and I noticed that I was getting slightly more muscles.
There was progress.
There was progress, yeah. I could do a lot more weights and stuff. It was really cool. It was exciting. And I got it done through a lot of encouragement from Caesar, but I got it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now something that like I was doing new, but that, you know, ultimately there was no happy ending to it, or the process itself isn't very happy, was just online school since COVID started. I am not a guy that does well at home. Home for me is home. I'm here to relax. I'm not here to do anything that I don't necessarily want to do. And it was really hard, just caring to begin with. And as you can tell, starting that new thing, online school, do I care? No. Well, that's setting myself up for failure, but I didn't really have much other options, so I kind of had to force my way through it. And in those kinds of situations where it's, you know, ultimately it's something that like you're just kind of, you feel like you're stuck in, or you feel like, you know, there's just no other option. One, just to remind yourself, there always is another option. And even I had to realize that. It took some time, but there's always another option. Whether you take it or not, you know, that's your decision. But you have to think about, like, realistically, like, you know, am I really stuck here? No. Am I stuck here in terms of like just being comfortable? Like this is the only thing that I can be comfortable doing, or my other option is like confronting something that I've never done before. You know, those kinds of situations, you know, it's really up to your decision. I'm always of the idea that, you know, you go for what you truly believe in, you go for what you truly think is just the best for you and everyone else, if anyone else is involved. You know, just don't worry about like the image necessarily. And I think ultimately, that's what we're trying to convey to you, is that, for the example of the New Year's resolutions, it's an image. The New Year's resolution is an image that we like to be in. You know, we like to think about like, oh, what can I do better? I want to be nicer. I want to not have bad people in my life. I want to be healthier. I want to learn something. That's an image, but it's the substance in that image that really matters. And if you don't take care of that substance, being, what does it take? What's the process like? Do I really care? You know, are there people involved? If you don't take that into consideration, including yourself too, like sometimes we think like, I owe it to myself to do this, because if not, I will be disappointed in myself because I know I can do better. You know, we set standards for ourselves. If you don't take all of this into consideration, it's just a hollow commitment. It's a hollow commitment, and ultimately it'll seem like a waste of time, I think, to most people.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So yeah, online school, not fun at all. But it's something to go through. At least it gives you an idea of what failure is like.
welcome back. I hope you like our little intermission. So yeah, we're moving forward and now really just talking about getting started on that something new, or things that you want to checklist before starting something new.
Just some things to think about.
Yeah, and I know something that I find really important is finishing what you already started before starting something new. So that way you can have kind of just a clearer mind and just be able to get what needs to be done, so there's no distractions in the way or anything like that. And I know big advice when it comes to drawing that I've heard a lot that I felt like helped me at one point was to finish what you've already started. Finish a drawing, even if you don't like how it's going, just finish it just to see the end result, and you might learn something in the process of drawing. And like from what I learned was like, maybe I didn't like how the drawing was going at first. I thought it was but after coloring it or after outlining it or whatever, it really enhanced the drawing. It may have not been perfect, but it was way better than how I thought it was gonna end. Why I thought it wasn't worth it. So finish the drawing.
Yeah. And I think that can also motivate you to have a fresh start, when you are doing something new. Like, you start something new and it doesn't go as great, you don't like the process, but finish it. Because when you finish it, you might be surprised, and hopefully if you do get surprised and you like what's coming out of it, it can motivate you again, and it doesn't leave you in that down spot that you were in, and then you just become discouraged from doing anything else. And you kind of halt yourself. So yeah, I think that's good advice. Something that I haven't necessarily thought about, but I think it's something to think about for sure when I'm doing my own projects. Yeah, and I know for me, something that I've personally gone through whenever I start something new is that it's always good to, in the very moment as I'm doing this thing, when I'm doing the May show, or when I started a different school, or when I started playing guitar, or when I started making food, it's to have somewhat of just a blank mind of what's going on. I think we need to be able to balance what we know, what we find out beforehand on this new thing that we're going to discover, that we're going to do, and just letting the experience itself surprise you. I know for me, when I was doing food, when I was just like making more food, I had no experience whatsoever. I had not tried anything. But because I had a blank mind in the moment when I was making the food, I wasn't afraid of failure. I wasn't afraid of what was necessarily going to happen. I know that like a big thing that I've heard from like a very famous chef is like the biggest difference between you being just a chef or a cook to you being like a great chef or cook, to take yourself to that next level, is to lose the fear of the stove. And I think kind of what he's trying to say is to just don't let your mind, what you imagine, take over what's really going on. I think it's easy for us to have expectations of what the day-to-day might be like, or of how tiring it may be like, or of how inconvenient it may be, and then when we're actually doing it, all we are really doing to ourselves is just trying to fulfill this imaginary world that we've created, and ultimately you're just ruining it for yourself and for everyone else involved. So having that blank mind, I think, can really open up just how well you take it in, how well you take control of it, how well you establish what you want to do. You might be surprised as to how people do in these certain situations when they start something new. Hopefully they're people that you aspire to be. And you might be surprised as to how the day-to-day might be like for them. As we've just said, try not to think yourself so much about what the day-to-day might be like, because it's very easy to think about all the wrong or all the bad things that could happen. But look as to what happened with them. You might have a little bit more of a realistic expectation of what goes on. Just for example, like how I had referenced the chef that I'm talking about is Marco Pierre White. He's the first celebrity British chef. Something that I aspire from him is that he just doesn't really care necessarily about his image. It seems like he's just more interested in, what good food is like or what it takes to make great food. Obviously, I mean, nowadays he's not really like the chef that he was. He's more of just like a supervisor, more of just like a teacher, if anything. And I think, through his teachings and stuff like that, I've learned that when it comes to doing the process, at least in his world, it was, being a chef day in and day out, achieving greatness. The process alone is something that you have to truly hone in on and not let anything else clutter your mind necessarily. The drive for 3 Michelin stars is, the biggest thing that a chef could do. I guess most chefs would want to do that. But the amount of effort that it takes can really drive away people. But it didn't drive away him. And I think the biggest reason why was because he didn't have that fear. He didn't have that pre-notion that, everything's just going to go wrong. He was driven to do it because he said so. It was that simple for him. When I look at a guy like that, I think like, well, I mean, he's not Superman, he's not, he doesn't have any specialness to him necessarily than anyone else. So it can be very motivating to look at people like him and think about like what their process must have been like. He's probably had off days all the time. Off days being where like just things did not go well, but it didn't stop that drive. And I think when you talk to the people that you aspire to, really ask them like what really happens, both the good, the bad, everything. That way you at least have an idea of what it could be like, and it might clear your mind in terms of like all the negative ideas that you might already have. It might clutter that out. If you really are the type to be prepared or to really have expectations of like what's going on and all that, at least ask everything that you can possible about people that are already in that world that you want to enter. At least do that for yourself instead of let your mind take over you. Because I think the people that we aspire to, who knows how cool it might be when someone asks you like, oh, who inspired you to do this thing, or who got you into doing this hobby, or getting this job. You can thank them, and you can be grateful for what happened. I think. I know that's what happens with me.
So, to kind of end it off, doing something new can really reveal your true character, because it's after you commit to this, or after you've finally done it, or maybe even in the middle of it, who knows, you'll realize just how well you are under pressure, or how well you are willing to commit, or just
how brave you can be.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm going to use this as an example. Saying that I would be committed to the May Show or being a part of it. It's been rough. It hasn't been easy, for sure, because I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have to be in camera. I guess I got to be ready for that and be okay with that. And it's been a lot of takes, mainly on my part, because I'm not comfortable at all. Even though it's not even a person really behind the camera, it's just a camera right there. It's still weird because I know someone's gonna see this.
Maybe.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I know the 3 people that are gonna see this. It's just, I don't know. It's this idea of expectation. But anyways, it shouldn't have to feel like that because I've already committed to this. I should feel comfortable in. And I know I eventually will, assuming we're going to go through a lot of episodes of this. I hope that I can, and that's a big thing that I'm dealing with right now. So it's revealed that it's going to take a while for me. I'm not prepared, or as prepared as I was hoping to be. But to be fair, I don't think I really prepared my mind all that much for it. We didn't really practice that much. It was when we were finally,
we unintentionally ended up practicing.
It was the final, what we were thinking were to be the final takes ended up being the practice shots or whatever, clips. So, right. It's been rough. But yeah, just like anything, you're gonna find out a lot about yourself in anything new that you do.
Yeah. Like, I can tell you something that, like, doing this new thing for me, what it revealed about me was that, one, thankfully, I'm not too worried necessarily about, like, my image, which I guess can be a good thing or a bad thing. Wait to see. And two, I kind of just have to put the most just honest version of myself to be able to really care about what I'm talking about. Like this episode, something new. That's a vague topic. And so really honing in on what I wanted to say really made me think, like, just straight up, when it comes to doing something new, what do I really care about? What do I think is super beneficial? What would I want to tell, a friend of mine that's, like, really struggling with something? And I think doing that, proved to me that I at least have something to say in this subject, and at least if I put some effort into it, I can give something that I think is worthwhile. And yeah, I mean, another thing too is I kind of have to put, like, a blanket of, like how I mentioned before, just I don't care about my image, so good luck for me, I guess. But yeah, I think other than that, not everything is going to be nice when your character is revealed to yourself. I know for me, it's like, I hate the way I look on camera. But the fact that I'm worrying about that so much, that's a part of my character that I don't necessarily like so much, because I never thought I cared about my visual image that much, but I guess I do. And hopefully I'll grow out of it, but it's a process, just as this show is.
Shall we wrap up?
Yes.
Cool. Happy New Year's, guys!
Thank you for bearing through this with us.